Hello everyone, it's Conspira Lucy, aka Luke here, and welcome back to another episode of Conspiracy's RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars 11. Whew. Well, it's over. Listen, you guys, I just came back from a lake trip. I am severely sunburnt. I'm hungover. Yes, the video is late today, but you know what? We are here. And you know what? I don't know what it's going to be like, me getting back in drag, because the foundation's probably not going to match, but hopefully I'll have like a sickening tan. But anyways, wow, you guys, can I be honest with you? Okay, so this weekend, I didn't have time to watch the episode at the same time as everybody else, so I was seeing all the discourse on Twitter, and I will be honest, I had a little bit of the reefer kefir, whatever, just one hit of, I don't know if we can talk about this on YouTube. Y'all get it. A little bit of, if it's not green, honey, I'm not interested, okay? Anyways, and I was like watching and like all the untucked stuff, I was like, this is crazy. First of all, I was like, oh my gosh, this was like actually intense. And like, I just was not expecting this from this season. And this episode really feels like a turning point for this season. You know, I've been very negative on the season so far, but it's like, this episode, it's like all the bracket 2 queens, like they channeled the energy of Mistress. They channeled the energy of like how iconic bracket 2 was in All Stars 10. And it's moments like these that really make me believe in this format, because I've been really negative so far on the format thus far. But getting moments like these, or even like, because what we saw with Mistress and Georges, it's like it could only happen in very specific circumstances, especially with all of the votes not happening publicly. And it's like, whoever goes first versus whoever goes last, it's like you have an advantage if you're going last. So I don't know. Like for me, it'd be like, I'm not going last. Like I'm going first every time. And then I feel like the girls should be fighting over that more. And all that to say, I think that they should just be doing votes on the main stage at the end of each episode. And it should always be private. You know, they shouldn't know who's voting for who so that they can strategize after. You know, that's what makes Survivor so good. It's like all these blind sides. And another thing, I'm like, I feel like I'm retconning all of my previous statements on bracket 2, because I previously said, you know, like, I think it's rigged. I think all of us thought, you know, going in that Crystal and Silky were the obvious top 2. And then we get here to this episode and they are the ones who make it, but it's because of Silky's amazing social strategy. And that's how you actually do it. Because, you know, as much as like, I loved seeing Salina strategizing and she's such a big fan of Survivor, she wasn't keeping it a secret. Everybody knew that Salina was going here, going there. Like Aura was probably right not to trust her. Versus Silky, she never talked about strategy the whole time. She said, you guys, I would really like your points, like going throughout, but she always said everything publicly up until the end. So everybody thought that she was trustworthy. And so all of them were like, oh, me and Silky are going to swap points. And so this was masterful gameplay from Silky. And it was so subtle that it almost couldn't make it into the edit, because while everybody's talking amongst themselves in Untucked, she goes over to the side to Crystal. She's like, we're swapping points. You know, she was saying to, I think she talked to, yeah, she was talking to April, and she was like, girl, are we going to swap points? And then eventually she makes it to Aura, and she also says to Aura, like, well, Aura's actually the one that initiates it. Aura's like, girl, like, we going to swap points? And so he's like, yeah, we're going to swap points, but I don't think you'll need it, because I think Silky genuinely thought that Aura was going to be in the top 2. And so, yeah, we just have to talk about this whole Untucked moment afterwards, because, well, we'll start off with, you know, this whole thing is going to be kind of up in the air, because now we're already talking about the top 2, right? Which we haven't even talked about the challenge, but whatever. We just got to talk about what's relevant, right? So it's Salina and Vivacious in the top 2, and Salina ends up tying with Silky and Vivacious. They all have 4 points. Or wait, no. She's tied with Crystal, and then it's Vivacious and Silky who are tied with 4 points, and then Aura, I think, had 3. So Salina's in a pretty good spot here. And I genuinely think what production wanted was the obvious storyline of like, oh, like Salina's been plotting and like she finally ended up in the top and then Aura's going to give her the point and it's actually going to be Salina and Crystal moving on, you know, because I think they kind of like the fake strategy, but I think what production wasn't expecting was some real strategy at the end to come into play with Silky. And I actually think it makes for a better storyline of Silky moving on because now it's going to be Silky and Akira in the semifinals, which I don't know if their drama happened after they made it to the semifinals because I remember they've had drama over like a TV or something, like Silky not giving Akira back her TV. I don't know. If that happened beforehand, then that could potentially be some really great drama. Yeah, I'm really trying to think like Aura being like, I forgot that you could give your point to the top two. And says, no, you fucking didn't. Like, you just had an alliance with Silky, and that's fine. Like, you thought Silky was going to give her point. And that's the other thing. And I'm trying to think, did we see this at all in All Stars 10 of like, you really, what every queen should be doing during this last point ceremony, give it to the queen with the least amount of points. I mean, it's dangerous if everybody decides to do that and then all of a sudden they end up making it to the semifinals. But like, it was really genius. Like, Silky is just smart. She's like, I'm giving it to April because she has no points and she's not going to make it. You know, she had to give herself a fighting chance. And that's what everybody kind of should have been thinking. And I think Crystal was thinking about it, but she was like trusting Silky. And that was maybe not the best route for her to go because there's a world where it could have been Silky and Salina had April decided otherwise. Like, I think Crystal got really lucky. And I have to give it to production because I still do think that Crystal is production's choice to win. And, you know, it might not seem obvious because, you know, we have Dawn who got all 3 wins on her bracket. But I actually think they took a note from the Ginger favoritism and were like, we don't want our winner this season to win all 3 episodes of the bracket because that would look too obvious. And so I think they wanted to set Crystal up with a good cushion of points to have her make it to the semifinals, but they really did risk it. And I would be interested to see who would be their choice otherwise had that not happened. And I just really hope that either Salina or Morgan is the wild card pick. We'll see what happens in bracket 3. I'm interested to see if it can bring any of the drama that we've had from this second bracket, because I really don't. I know I've been negative beforehand, but I really don't know how I feel about this bracket format because I do agree there's so many positives to it, but there's also been so many negatives to it. And I feel like with some tweaking, I mean, from what we're hearing, they're only doing 2 brackets this time for All Stars 12, which that could be potentially very interesting. 4 episodes per bracket, then 3 queens each bracket making it. That could be very interesting. And I think the pacing could also be better. And it would also highlight the queens more effectively if they get a guaranteed 4 episodes rather than a guaranteed 3 episodes. Anyways, that was super long-winded. I'm trying to really rack my brain. I want to make sure I cover everything with this drama because it was so juicy. I mean, this really was, I don't watch Untucked anymore, and so I'm glad I was prompted to actually watch this Untucked episode. And this is what an Untucked should always be. It was able to be so well-paced because they had to cut out so much fluff because they actually had content to show, which, again, they're not always going to have that. But, again, I'm like, you have to take some liberties. You have to kind of craft your own narrative based on what happens. And that's what was so strong about early season Untucked. And not that I think you need to completely, like, make stuff up out of thin air, but, like, some of that's not terrible. You know, if it's entertaining, that's all it really should be. I mean, it shouldn't be obvious that you're just making shit up, but, you know, I just think Untucked has been needing a revamp for years and years and years. They've just been constantly making it worse, and this was like a true return to form of old Drag Race. You know, Untucked should be actually behind the scenes, and I just think that Salina, she has really showed that she is great TV, and she can strategize, so I'd love to see her on a Big Brother or a Survivor. She loves those shows. I'd love to see her on another All-Star season where she could actually get like a fair shakedown. You know, she'd be great on a Verse the World. Yeah. And because this challenge is a runway challenge, it's kind of Maxi-Challenge and Runway being reviewed together. So here on Conspiracies, if we like the look, we enact it, which means it's going into law. And if we don't like the look, we veto it, which means it's not going into law and it's not getting past Congress. And starting up with April Carrión. Her makeover was decent. I mean, I just think there's something always off about April's makeup for me. Like, I don't know what it is. I think it's something in the brows. Something in her brows is weird to me. And, you know, I'd have to go back and really look, but that's just what I always think. And her partner didn't look bad. You know, it was pretty matchy-matchy. The hair was nice. But again, it was nothing to write home about. Like, it didn't feel like anything special to me. They were cute outfits, but there wasn't like a whole lot of pizzazz for me. Even though they had like that cute cover-up, but this was just okay, but it's still gonna be, for me, I'm gonna enact it. Moving on to Aura Mayari, I thought she just beat her partner so beautifully. Like, it was amazing. I loved the outfits. I think, for me, these were just a little too matchy-matchy, but I just thought Aura's mug was so beautiful this episode. I mean, she's always been able to paint so well, and tonight was no exception. So overall, I'm going to have to enact these looks. I thought this was a job well done from Aura. Moving on to Crystal Methyd. And I actually liked these looks. What I was most impressed about with these looks is that, you know, with how much was going on and how many pieces there were, the fact that I felt like there was a cohesive color scheme, and I felt like all the pieces actually complemented each other well. You know, for me, I felt it was actually organized chaos. Like, I felt like there was a thought process behind these looks. And I feel like sometimes people see this and they are like, oh, well, this is just thrown together. But I didn't really feel that. I felt like everything was intentional to me. And it brings up a larger discourse that I've always thought of. For the makeover, they almost always reward traditional beauty. Like, the kooky queen almost never wins the makeover. And I'm really trying to think, and I'm like, I feel like it's always just a pretty queen who wins the makeover. Like, Q on season 16, like, that was a really great makeover, but they rewarded plain Jane's, you know, traditional, like, twin drag. Or Crystal Methyd, whose makeover was probably the most memorable one from season 12, but instead it's Jada Essence Hall who's rewarded, which, you know, not that either or is bad, but it's just like, I feel like the kooky queen never is recognized at the makeover. But overall, I'm going to have to enact these looks. I actually really enjoyed looking at them, and I loved the makeup that she did. It was really interesting. She shows that she's so versatile when it comes to makeup. Moving on to Salina EsTitties, and I thought this was really great. The rhinestone work was stoned. It was just so beautiful. And I thought they were twins, right? It was very stamped. It was very her mug. It was honestly hard to tell them apart. And you know Michelle loves that. And I loved seeing Michelle and Ross argue. And Ross kind of was like, girl, what are you talking about? Because like every makeover, it's honestly like everybody talks about it, but like it genuinely is getting like kind of mind-boggling. Like Michelle, it's just like, she's just like regurgitating like this just bullshit. Like, like I understand. Well, I don't understand. I feel like I understand what family resemblance means. It's like it should be cohesive. It should look like you're in the same vein. You're in the same lookbook. To me, that's what it means, right? But she just like, it's never consistent. It's like, do you want them to be twins? Because then she's like, well, I like that it's not twins. I like that there's like these differences, but I'm like, no, they're twins. But you're saying, oh, I like that they're not twins. You know what I mean? It was just like, it never adds up. But overall, I thought this was actually really, really great from Salina. So I'm going to have to enact this look. Moving on to Silky, Nutmeg, Ganache. And I thought these outfits were really great. I thought Silky looked beautiful. I saw a tweet that said her partner looked like Phoenix. And unfortunately, I do think that is true. I wasn't necessarily offended with the makeup, but, you know, I said I loved Ross's kind of clap back to Michelle. But I actually kind of feel like I agree with Michelle in terms of the makeup. Like, I don't think they look alike. And because Silky, her mug is actually like, it's very like stretched horizontally. She doesn't do like a whole like up here moment, but she did that for her partner. And so that's one of the things, like the eye shapes aren't consistent. And then like the use of blush, it's so vibrant on her partner versus on Silky's mug. It's just very much like flush with her skin tone, you know? So there was all these differences. And I know she gave herself a challenge, you know, painting somebody with fair skin. I'm sure that was something that she's not used to. And yeah, I don't think it was necessarily a smart decision when she had the advantage, but I think, you know, she's like, it's my fourth time. I don't want them to say that I was going the easy route, but I think it might have been a better choice for her, especially because she ended up actually really helping Vivacious, giving somebody who was similar in complexion to her. And so that was a good sister moment. But overall, I enjoyed these looks, and I don't think the makeup was super offensive. It just wasn't my favorite, and it didn't necessarily match super well. But overall, I'm going to have to enact these looks. And lastly, we have Vivacious, and I actually really loved these looks. I loved the yellow into the orange pattern. I actually really loved the makeup. I think, you know, Aura had a good read being like, you're lucky that the judges panel is like 30 feet away, or feet? Something like that. So that they can't actually see the details, because the details are a little smudgy. But you know what? That's kind of like my makeup too. I'm like, we need some distance, okay? But I thought this was really great. I love how she subtly always incorporates Ornacia into her drag. And Ornacia is almost, at this point, it's kind of a part of her brand. I mean, it is. And so, you know, I had said like, oh, I like that she's like, you know, I was like, oh, I want to see like Vivacious without Ornacia. But you know what? I actually feel like the way she does it, it's not always like Ornacia. It's just like, it was like subtly in the hair. I didn't even notice it at first. And then I was like, oh, that's a really neat detail. And it's, you know, because at this point, Ornacia is kind of like an honorary queen of RuPaul's Drag Race. And yeah, this was just really great to me. And I genuinely thought that Vivacious and Salina's partners did the best in their choreography as well. And so it was overall just the best choice for them to be the top two. And getting into the lip sync, Vivacious did not know the words, and I haven't looked up the explanation online, but I've seen that she has kind of talked about why that happened, so you'll have to let me know in the comments why. But I think even if she did know the words, Salina killed it. This was the best lip sync of the season, hands down. Just because of Salina. Salina is such a good performer. And I guess, you know, she did so many great lip syncs on season 15, but it's like, I guess I never always thought of her as like the lip sync queen. But like, after seeing this, I'm like, wow, like the way she moves, the way she serves face, like just really amazing. I loved the lip sync look that she wore. I mean, I am the queen of green. I love green, so I love to see that. And she just serves so much CUNT, if you will. So I was really glad to see that she won the lip sync and it was fair and square. And like, I really think this was production being like, yes, we want Salina to move on to the semifinals. But I think production also is never going to be mad at Silky, you know, moving on as well. And this was just such a gag. And it was just so smart from Silky to like have all these last minute alliances. And yeah, like if Aura, because at that point, Aura knew she probably wasn't going, well, let's see, she had 3 points. If Silky had given her a point, she still wouldn't have had enough. And it's like, at that point, wouldn't you just want to give it to your season 15 sister? Like, because I feel like out of the whole entire bracket, those two were the closest. Not that they're super close by any means, but they were both in the same season. They both like regularly kept in touch. And yeah, it's just like what could have been, you know. And then Salina was like trying to say to Silky, like, oh, you should have given me your point. I'm like, Silky was in contention. Like, it would have made, why would Silky have given her point to you, Salina? Like, I know she was just like emotional and in that moment, but like, it made no sense. And then I did think it was kind of weird. Like, Silky has these random like bursts of like emotion sometimes. And like, she was like, you need to go apologize to her. And it's like, okay, but you, Silky, you actually betrayed more people than Salina did. Like, Salina was planning on betraying people, but she never got the opportunity. And so nobody actually knew that she was going to do that. But I guess they kind of all did because she was talking to everybody and she wasn't doing it subtly. And so when you're doing this, you have to do it subtly. Like, the cameras could barely pick up Silky talking about her strategy because she was actually trying to do it in secret, right? And so it ends up being Silky and Crystal moving on, and I think this is great for production. I think they wanted Crystal to move on, and I think Silky moving on, it actually is also really great for production. And if we could just get Salina to move on as well, like to have either Salina or Morgan, two people with wins, like if they choose the wild card and it's just somebody who like doesn't have a win, like they did, who was, well, yeah, it was Carrie Colby, but they did that in the finale, which have they said how they're going to do it this season? Is it going to be they just move on straight to the finale? Because that would be really strange. I haven't been listening closely enough, but because they had Carrie Colby and she didn't have a win last season. And I just feel like that would be so underwhelming, because had they chosen somebody like Mistress last season, or who else? Even someone like Tina Burner. It's like somebody with a win who like actually still has some like equity to get the crown. That would make it so much more engaging. Like versus somebody without a win, it's like, okay, well, we know they're not going to win. There's no narrative payoff for that, right? I mean, unless you're like, what is it, Le Philippe or what's her name? Italia season 1 winner, Electra Bionic. Unless you're one of them, like, which again, that's never happened on the American franchise, and I would kind of like to see it. Like, I think if it's earned, if they're just like constantly in the top, but like just never getting it, that could be a really sickening storyline. But yeah, have we covered everything? Yeah, because I'm sorry, you guys, this is tripping me up on the format of this, because I don't think I've ever judged on my channel like a runway theme that's also the Maxi-Challenge. I keep thinking like, oh, we got to go to the runway now, but the runway is the Maxi-Challenge. So yeah, I genuinely enjoyed this episode, and I feel like this could be a genuine turning point for the season. Episode 6, you know, we have the whole other half of the season to get to, and I think Jasmine Kennedy, Sam Starr, Kennedy Davenport, I think they're all really dynamic TV personalities that I feel like could make some genuine good TV and drama for bracket 3. And I'm hoping it's not a kumbaya fest. I'm hoping it's not a snooze fest. I'm hoping there's some chemistry. We'll see if that ends up playing out. Yeah, but I really enjoyed this episode. This was the closest thing we've had to like old Drag Race. And I really felt like the queens really just came alive with the chemistry this episode. And it was something I wasn't feeling beforehand. I think bracket 1, that would be a really good episode idea, to like rank all the brackets. I mean, we only really have 6 so far. Like maybe if we did it after All Stars 12, I don't know. Because right now I'm thinking bracket 1 of All Stars 11 would be at the bottom. Because even bracket 3 of All Stars 10, for as like rigged as that was, I felt like it just felt grander versus like it felt really flat this season. Anyways, that's going to do it for me for this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope I don't look too red, too sunburnt. I'm not quite sure. Make sure you like the video if you liked it. Please hype if you're on mobile. We do have a podcast form of this show, so if you're interested in that, check it out. And subscribe if you enjoyed the video. That's going to do it for me, you guys. Bye.